Howdy peeps, it's Mad Scientist Mike here. A lovely spring day, April 30th. I'm outside here with the doggos. You can see in here we got two doggos behind me. They're kind of tangled together, so hopefully they get along alright. She tries to climb the fence. So yeah, let's see how things go today. I just wanted to give a quick update here. Let me flip my camera around. And I'll show you. This is what I've tilled. But this was all 3 long raised beds, and I've been slowly raking out the organic matter, and I'm going to let it compost out here rather than let it take root in my beds. And we got some beautiful crystals here. Look at that. That's amazing. That thing's cool. So yeah, obviously we'll pick the different raw materials out that we can get, like the stones and the organic material. We can sift some of this topsoil out of and still use that. Every little bit of soil is a commodity in its sense that it's precious. You rely on soil more than you think, even if you don't grow your own food. So yeah, let's look at this. This is the start, one of the first rows I just went through here with the claw. And then I said, well, I'm gonna rake this all out. It's a little bit of a Zen garden moment with the hard rake, just taking all those bits and pieces out and getting it ready for cultivation. Christine's already planted the first bit that I tilled in my first video. It's just a few rows up in here. We left a lot of the organic bits in there, so hopefully it's not plagued with grasses and things, moss and stuff. But she planted all of this with different things. She has a key, and it'll be probably a couple months before we really see all these really good results, because we are in Maine. We're a little early in the season, I think, to be planting some of these things, but it's been a warm season. It's been relatively moist compared to the past few years, so that's been good. Our rhubarbs are growing in here. I still have to till these beds where I can. If you ever grow kale, this is a second-year kale. It came back a year later. I believe this is a red Siberian kale or red Russian kale. And let's just look at how awesome those leaves look. This thing's gonna go to flower before long. But this survived the winter in Maine underneath the snow. And it's just an amazing plant. So Christine already gave you the tour the other day of how things were going. I just wanted to catch you up. An organic food growing tip. We use a wood stove here. The doggo's freaking out. We use a wood stove here, and we're just taking this wood ash from the wood stove. It's got some charcoal in it, but it's mostly just ash. And ash is an excellent source of potassium. So we're going to add that to our soil before I till any more rows to it. Like I said, I basically smoothed it all out, but I forgot to add the potash or potassium, which is just basically wood ash. That's really fine. I have some older stuff here. You can see it's got some charcoal in it. So I'm going to stick that in here and sprinkle it all across this garden before I go about putting any more rows in. For this job, I have this old broadcast cedar. The little contraption that keeps it all together and controls it is broken, but I think think it'll work great for distributing this ash around the garden, hopefully. I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, I was able to spread it out in a reasonable fashion all across here. I'll till it in there with the rake, and that'll add a little bit of potassium to the soil on top of the fertility that's trapped in there that we've been using. Alright, so there's 4 rows. It took me about half an hour to put the other 2 in. It's coming along. I sort of put them on contour, but they kind of go downhill so that if it really overflows, it kind of hopefully doesn't flood out our rows. But I think it should be enough rows here. Probably be. We got 4 rows there, so it's gonna be probably about 10 rows when we're done at least. And it's a nice stretch of row garden. This is our hugelkultur over here. You can kind of see, if you look down in here, I tilled all of this because it was just overtaken by mint. This is mint. See, it was growing down inside of this log. This is the whole basis of hugelkultur. This is our hugelkultur bed. I just wanted to give a quick overview of how hugelkultur works. Basically, you take your old logs and your brush and stuff like that, you bury it underneath whatever you got for soil. Usually you dig a trench and you set that soil from the trench aside, and then you fill the trench with your sticks and you cover it over. This is for annual gardening, but also for perennials. We're putting some perennials in there. I would worry about planting perennials in something like this if you don't know what they're susceptible to, because there are certain plant diseases that might come in the wood that your stuff is going to be susceptible to. The whole point of a hugelkultur is to imitate nature. You're trying to imitate the forest floor. As we see here, I peeled this log open. We got some of the green sort of fungi that's taking over. You can zoom way in here. I'm trying to stabilize a bit, and you can see there's ants living inside of there. A whole ton of ants living inside of this log in this hugelkultur mound. Now, why would you want ants in your hugelkultur mound, you were asking? They're gonna mess with your plants, and they might. When you're mimicking nature, you always take the risk that the plants that you put into your natural gardens are gonna become a victim of natural forces such as ants or fungi. So that's just some thoughts on hugelkulturs. Here we have some horsetail coming through. These are all things that are going to really take over the whole garden if you let them. This is why I tilled it, but we have horsetail. We have mint that's starting to sprout. All kinds of organic material in there. I just tilled it around and took the mint out that I could, but there's still a lot in there. So hopefully it doesn't take over like it did last year. And then we have where I've been tilling here. I've done 4 rows so far. Gonna probably get about 10 out of it. So, yep. Well, I went through yesterday. I didn't record it all. Basically made a bunch of furrows in this garden here, so Christine can plant her seeds here, and I can move on to my next project, which is going to be finishing up the greenhouse. which I'll make a video of that entire process so that we don't have to cut through a couple hours of me just doing stuff. But yeah, here's what the garden looks like so far. This is the start of my compost heap. I have an 8x4 pallet under there. It's my base. And I put an old rotty piece of plywood that I had in the yard kicking around on top of that. I had these old corrugated panels. And I'm just, I nailed 2 of these on the side to, for containment and all that. That's, I just used some galvanized nails to nail it to the pallet. It's not like a permanent solution, but it's going to be better than anything that we've had before for composting. I'm going to put our leaves in here in a pile next to it so that we can layer it in with grass clippings as we go, duck juice, different things that are going to get that compost going and turn our compost regularly, and that's going to be a lot better for our farm here. So I just got to cut the sides here. I got a little grinder. I'll probably hook that up and cut this panel in half and just hook it on there, and alright, now I just gotta find some uprights to put in the corners, spike it together, and we'll have a compost bin. Try and cover up those sharp edges somehow so that the animals don't get hurt on it, and the people. You always want to be OSHA kosher. Thanks for watching, folks.